Chapter 10: The Three Stalkers. It might be because he activated 14 mystery branch genetic base points or a result of the reckless action he took yesterday. Currently, Zutui was very sensitive to his surroundings. Many different people were bustling around the maglev bus station. Most of the people were looking at their communication devices. The younger crowd even had earphones stuffed in their ears. No one had the time to observe someone else. They would occasionally glance at another person, then rapidly shift their gazes. However, while he was waiting for the maglev bus, Zutui noticed that people were observing him at regular intervals. Zutui had thought that they were young ladies who could not stop admiring him because he put on his white shoes and looked incredibly handsome. However, Zutui became frustrated when he found the source of the gazes. They were two men. They were as masculine as they could be. Perhaps it was because they were at a maglev bus station. One of the men quickly turned his head around when he saw Zutui turn to look toward him. Zutui ignored him. The people made up the scenery of the bus station, especially handsome people. Could you forbid a person from looking at you? The maglev bus arrived. Zutui walked forward but did not get on the bus. He had to allow the elderly and the children to hop on first. Zutui was one of the last few people to get on the bus. However, he had just stepped onto the bus when he noticed that the two men who were observing him also hurried onto the bus. After that, Zutui realized that their gazes would land on him whenever they reached a bus stop, especially just before the maglev bus came to a halt. It was as though they were watching him to see if he would get off. 5 bus stops later, the men's stalking became clearer. Zutui also noticed that at least 3 people were looking at him. As a teenager from the 22nd century who had watched many television dramas, Zutui knew of many tactics to deal with this situation. He knew what to do from watching these situations happen to other people, even if this was the first time it had happened to him. Zutui immediately had an idea. First, he had to confirm whether these 3 people were really tailing him. He also had to guarantee his safety while not alerting these 3 people. Zutui knew that those people might act recklessly as a result of their anxiety after being alerted. Zutui thought he could accomplish not alerting the other party with the tactics he learned from television dramas, even though he had only really used these techniques on Yuzeping, his parents, and his classmates in the past. As for guaranteeing his safety, Zutui only thought of one idea: to head to some place crowded. The arrival of the Great Genetic Age had resulted in the enhancement of physical abilities in a small number of people. There had been more incidents of conflict in this day and age, but the security of Wuxia had always been rather decent. Zutui got off at Little West Lake in a calm manner. There was a famous bubble tea store here. This was a place that many teenagers would visit to take pictures for their social media accounts. Zutui adopted various poses as he took selfies, all the while seizing the opportunity to observe the situation. His heart sank. The 3 men indeed continued to follow him off the bus. 2 of them huddled together and smoked, while the last man just bought a bag of fried chicken and had a mouthful. Crunch! It was fragrant. He was sure that these 3 men were tailing him. Zutui, who was in the queue to purchase the bubble tea, felt his mind turn blank. Why would he have attracted 3 experts in tracking? He should not be that valuable, right? Did the other party have to do this even though he had activated 14 genetic base points? The legendary Dawn Salvation Trader Organization wouldn't target him just based on that, would they? This generation of third-year students from the Jinchang Prefecture was exceptional. There was even a person from Jinchang Third High School who activated 16 genetic base points. There were even 2 other people who activated 15 genetic base points. It was rumored that one of them was also from the Mystery Branch. Even if the Dawn Salvation Trader Organization wanted to attack them, shouldn't they target those people first? The Dawn Salvation Trader Organization was made up of traitors who had betrayed the human race. According to the official reports, the Dawn Salvation Trader Organization had worked with the extraterrestrial invaders and had exchanges of benefits with them since a long time ago. It was also said that the multiple setbacks and the stalemate that the humans were facing in the intergalactic battlefield during the recent 100 years had something to do with the Dawn Salvation Trader Organization. This was especially so for recent years. The Dawn Salvation Trader Organization successively obtained a large number of advanced technology from the extraterrestrial invaders and rapidly developed their strength. Their influence was expanding. There were genius students who were assassinated. Many students were abducted and went missing. According to the rumors, the Dawn Salvation Trader organization was using these students who had just activated their genetic base points as experimental subjects. At this point, the possibility of his stalkers being from the Dawn Salvation Trader organization was large. Even though he was nervous, Zhu Tui was also a little excited. Was this life after he activated his genetic base points? Would he no longer have a dull day? The first thought Zhu Tui had was to call the police. He could get the police to deal with the problem. However, he quickly dismissed that idea. It was not because he did not trust the police. It was just that, at this time, the police department would not have much of a reaction no matter how exaggerated Zhu Tui described the situation to be. They would send a rookie cop over to take care of the situation at best. Would a third-year student like him be able to discover a member of the Dawn Salvation Trader organization? Is that possible? A third-year student like him could dream. The people sent by the Dawn Salvation Trader organization were all experts who had been through professional training. Under such a circumstance, Zhu Tui would be killed if he made a mistake. Currently, Zhu Tui only had one life. It would be over if he was killed. Should he head home and look for his parents? He definitely could not do that. That meant bringing the danger back home. Should he call Yu Zepping for help? Zhu Tui also dismissed that idea after he thought about it for a moment. Yu Zepping was a physical education teacher who only had the physique of a man but the heart of a mother. All he could do was probably call for the cops and head over to the scene personally. Zhu Tui might accidentally harm Yu Zepping if he called him. Do I take a taxi to the police station even though the fare is a little expensive? That idea was impractical. The three stalkers would not foolishly follow Zhu Tui to the police station. It would alert the other party instead. Even if Zhu Tui managed to enter the police station, the police would not be able to offer him much protection after Zhu Tui told them about what happened, and the investigation would result in nothing. 2/3 of the students from the Jincheng prefecture who had just finished the genetic exams were concentrated in Jincheng City. That was more than 10,000 students. How could the police tend to all of them? Furthermore, even if the police force was not stretched thin, the police department would not send men to protect Zhu Tui just because of his words. Suddenly, Zhu Tui felt a little despair. He managed to spot danger using his abilities but had no way to deal with the crisis. No, I have to save myself. Suddenly, Zhu Tui remembered the name card of the female researcher. I'll ask her to see if she has any good ideas. I'll go stay at the police station for a few days if I'm really out of ideas. Zhu Tui turned on his communication device and called the female researcher Professor Zhao Soxui. The user you are calling is not available at the moment. Please try again later. Oh God. Zhu Tui was speechless. Was his only choice was to stay in the police station for a few days? Suddenly, the watch-like communication device on his wrist vibrated. Zhu Tui received a message. It was Professor Zhao Xu's reply. I'm in a meeting. Do you need something? Zhu Tui was elated. Professor An, I noticed 3 people tailing me. I can't seem to solve the crisis by calling the police or any other way. Do you have any suggestions? Zhu Tui could not afford to be indirect. In the great genetic era, only people whose genes were strengthened and evolved to a certain extent could become associate professors and professors. Of course, researchers who had arrived at breakthroughs in certain areas could be promoted to become a professor as an exception even if the evolution of their genes were average. However, Zhao Soxui was definitely not one of those exceptions, given how young she was. Are you sure that you are being tailed? How did you notice them? Indeed, even Zhao Soxui, who knew that Zhu Tui had activated 14 genetic base points, was doubting him. It would be worse if it was someone else. Professor N, after I returned home yesterday, I noticed that my senses had become incredibly sensitive. That was how I noticed my stalkers. I confirmed that they were stalking me when I changed locations and saw that they were still tailing me. Zhu Tui did not attempt to conceal anything. Send me your location. Remain in a crowded area and wait for my message. All right, Zhu Tui was no longer anxious. He estimated that he had to spend at least half an hour more in the queue for the famous bubble tea. It would be even longer if he politely allowed a beautiful lady to cut the queue in front of him. Zhu Tui noticed that the men who had been smoking earlier, as well as the guy who was eating his fried chicken just now, were now also in the queue. They were not far behind him. They were queuing for the bubble tea together. Inside a meeting room on the top floor of the Jincheng Executive Building, a full-bearded colonel wearing an iron military uniform was addressing the room. It means what it says. If someone was to drop the ball or not listen to instructions for the reporting period of college students this year, I, Liu Tianhu, will be the first to settle the score with him. Aside from them, and Zhao Saxui and another man from the Wuxia Genetic Military College were also in attendance. As a professor from the mystery branch of the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College, and Zhao Xu's social status was rather high. Furthermore, and Zhao Saxui had come to the Jincheng Prefecture this time as the person in charge of student admissions for the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College. Colonel Liu, can I interrupt you for a moment? And Zhao Saxui suddenly spoke. Colonel Liu Tianhu was very unhappy that he was interrupted in the middle of his speech. However, Liu Tianhu had to give the professor of the nation-leading Wuxia Genetic Evolution College a certain level of respect. Professor N, what's the matter? Oh, I just wanted to ask Division Captain Zhou a question. And Zhao Xu's gaze landed on the Division Captain of the Jincheng Special Intelligence Division, Zhou Sheng. Division Captain Zhou, a student is asking me for help saying that he is being tailed by someone. Are you going to send people to deal with it, or should I deal with it personally? And Zhao Saxui asked a direct question. Well, deal with it, of course. What a joke. Getting a professor from the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College to save a student from the Jincheng Prefecture within their jurisdiction would completely destroy the reputation of the Jincheng Special Intelligence Division. Alright, let me pull up the information first. I'll arrange for my men to deal with the situation immediately. Zhou Sheng turned on his communication device and accessed the system used exclusively by the Special Intelligence Division. He typed the name into the system. Not many people had the same name. He immediately found the student in question. 3. Zhao Sheng's expression changed. He's certain that 3 people are tailing him. What's going on? And Zhao Saxui immediately realized that something was wrong. How many special agents did you send? The information shows that we only sent 2.